recording. Captions. English. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All righty. Welcome, everybody. Once again to our show.
Oh, here goes for me.
Excuse me. So what's the agenda for today? First of all, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Valley of the Sun United Way, Satellite Broadcasting and Communications Association, Khajiit Triad Wireless, and Karen Ziegler Consulting. So I want to thank all of you, as always. Is there anybody who's new to us today besides Sean, who we're going to introduce in just a second? Anybody else who's new to us this morning? Or this afternoon, excuse me. Going once, going twice. Okay. So unfortunately, no updates from Sandeep and Nicole. Both of them are in Washington for an NTIA summit. So they will not be joining us today, which is unfortunate, since this is the reason we moved to 3:30, but it is what it is. So we're going to move on. So I just wanted to run an idea by you. I've been thinking about the task force, about renaming the task force. Of course, we're dropping COVID, which I think we've already done, and calling it Broadband and Digital Access Task Force. What do you think? Thoughts, comments? Philip's going yes. Anybody else? Yes, no?
This is Cindy. I'm not really sure about access, Steve.
Yeah, we can change it. I don't know. What do you think, Cindy? Digital, inclusion. Of course, we used that term when we first created the task force, and of course, obviously, the world has changed since then.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
That's actually really cool, because you could actually work.
I'm sorry, who was that, and what did you say?
Plans, otherwise $50.
Oh, I think people are unmuted.
Yeah, somebody is. Yeah.
Can we have a little time to think about it, Steve? I haven't.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. I'm just trying to think about, adding the broadband, just so it's clear. And I understand, Cindy, and I've thought about the same thing about, digital access was okay for us when we first started, maybe not now.
Right. Yeah, it's a little passé.
Yeah.
And I like just being broadband, like everything's digital, right?
Yeah.
We don't call it digital banking. Is it digital broadband? I mean, to me, that's getting to be more of a buzzword than a word that speaks, especially with regards to this group. It's not.
I'm sorry, Janet, I missed that. Can you restate that, please?
I'm not sure if digital is the right word, because for me, it's very overused and meant to mean a lot of things. Like, we don't say digital banking, we don't say digital broadband, and broadband seems to be the biggest area of expertise here. And with regards to access, but I think a name change is a great idea. I think it would be great to open the doors and brainstorm it.
Me too.
I don't want to spend more time on it today. I just wanted to bring it up for you to think about, and then we'll revisit it again. Okay.
That's fine, Steve. I put broadband and digital engagement instead of act, but that could be one choice. That's all. Yeah. Like to think about it too.
Okay. So I know digital equity, digital inclusion, digital access, digital, so we'll just have to think about it.
I like that engagement part. That's great, Mala.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that kind of, engagement cannot happen unless you have access. And equity is kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not all
Sounds like you're running a bank.
Yeah.
And I think engagement, because we want to get them engaged a little more than they are, even if they do join or do get access, we like, it's using it. It's another word for adoption.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's revisit it. I'll set it some other time on an agenda specifically for us to, in the meantime, if you have additional thoughts, you're welcome to put it in the chat, send me comments or whatever, and then we will revisit it. But I thought it was time. We of course dropped COVID, and that makes sense some time ago. Okay, ready to move on? So I don't have a formal presentation schedule for today. What I want to do is what we do every few months or so is to have sharing, where we have 4 or 5 people who step up and want to just tell people who they are and what they do. We have a lot of new people who have joined us. And so we ask you to take 5 minutes to share who you are, and we're going to get to that later on the agenda. I just wanted to give you warning that I may call on you unless you volunteer. So that's the tentative plan for today. So with that, moving on, I want to introduce Sean Story, who's an account executive for the Desert Region with Calix, who is a prime sponsor of the March 2022 National Tribal Telecommunications Association Tribal Broadband Summit. That's a sponsor, that's hosted by Gila River Telecommunications, and Jenny actually had brought that to my attention. And so Sean, so I want to say 2 things. Sean, I'm going to introduce Sean, let him just briefly tell you about Calix, and then he and Jenny can share just a little bit about the conference. And then at a future meeting, we're going to have more information, sharing more about the conference. I had a conversation with one of their people today. That conference is just absolutely phenomenal. And so I don't want to take the time today, but we will get into more details about that conference coming up, which is, again, March 20 through the 22nd. So Sean, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you quickly.
Yeah, hi everyone. Nice to meet you. Sean Story from Calix. I support our desert region, which actually consists of Arizona and New Mexico. So just wanted everyone to kind of understand where I was, the geographical territory. Calix, if you're not familiar with Calix, is basically started as a broadband equipment provider and has reverted more into what they consider a software provider. We're providing kind of an ecosystem for broadband providers to not only roll out their broadband, but basically be inside of the home, providing, security measures for children, parental controls, different avenues and means of being inside of a broadband home. A couple of things that Calix really, one thing I enjoy with Calix is they provide a lot of resources that broadband service providers can actually utilize. Anything from what we call a broadband academy, which is kind of a 5-step educational program. Anything from how to, somewhat acquire funding or go about acquiring funding, how to design different kinds of networks, building out those networks, ensuring sustainable broadband operations, and then marketing those as well. Calix really prides itself on not advertising its name. Typically, any of our equipment and services usually are highlighted by whomever the provider is. And so that's kind of what we do. I'm excited to be, here, and you guys allowing me to join. I want to provide any kind of resources I can to assist, and just really be ingrained in providing any kind of assistance. Along with that, we are a major sponsor for NTTA. As I stated, I think this will be my 4th NTTA, and it just grows every single year. Very educational, informative show that they put on, and absolutely excited to be there. Hopefully you can meet everyone in person if you show out to that. And then I will also share any kind of information or resources if anyone has any interest. One thing I usually like to send out is our complimentary broadband academy, which is what I stated, 5-step kind of educational program that a lot of people it may find beneficial in the broadband and digital access world.
Okay. Jenny, do you want to say anything about the conference coming up? Jenny, are you there?
Yes, hi, sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I would agree with what Sean is saying. We've participated for a number of years. NTTA, it's the organization itself, just as a refresher, you guys may already know this, but there for 20 years, there's been about a dozen tribal telecoms that have been really providing services to their own members, and then off reservation as well. Obviously, one of the most successful ones in Arizona is Gila River. So like Steve said, they're hosting this conference, and they have for quite a while now. And really what the sentiment there is leveraging the expertise of those original founders of the organization. It's kind of that, if we don't want others to walk uphill both directions barefoot, it's really about, sharing resources and gathering the brightest and best experts for Indian country. So some of you that haven't met me before, I'm one of the founders of Native Network, and we work almost exclusively in this vertical. And one of our favorite customers is there in Tucson, Arizona, the Pascal Yaqui, and we've been working with them since about 2019. So, and they are a recipient of the NTIA TBCP, Tribal Broadband Connectivity Program funding. So we've got about 5 people there on the reservation this week as we speak. And so it's exciting to finally see, as many of you know, NTIA funding took a very long time to get announced, and then also a lot of environmental assessment happens before these projects can actually start. So the timing will be great to be there in March. Calyx has been an awesome company that has really stepped up and supported all of these initiatives. And I really like seeing how companies like Calyx are really leaning in and really wanting, it's not a transactional kind of relationship. It's really a partnership with tribes, especially because there's a whole area of expertise and the ability for tribes or, sometimes municipalities to run these fiber networks and these broadband networks once they're built. So really exciting that it's happening in Arizona because it's a big deal.
Yep. So I had just brief conversations, and I don't want to spend a lot of time because we will have an NTTA representative come hopefully next week to provide more detail about the conference. But a couple of things that I suggested that they might want to consider is talking about broadband action teams, of how, because some of the reservations don't have broadband and don't have plans and don't have teams, and that might be a good way to help get them going. And they kind of like that idea. And then talking about, there is some parts of the conference that we're talking about digital equity and so forth, but thought that we should maybe talk some more about that. So you're going to hear more about that again as we have future discussion about this conference. I think last year we found out about the conference a week before, and it was kind of short notice for a lot of folks. And if you want to go and can't afford it, they are not going to provide free registration, but maybe we can find somebody or somebodies who might be willing to pay for your participation if you can't afford it. So, any questions or comments about that? It's a huge conference. Fernando, did you have a comment?
I just have a comment about Calyx equipment. I was 24 years installing, maintaining, repairing internet services for a big local communication provider. And they manufacture they make a good product, man. It's dependable, and I just felt like, hey, they're on here. That was my job: residential, fiber, DSL, VDSL technology, and it's a great product. So that's all I wanted to say.
See, there you go, Sean. There's a good endorsement for you.
Thanks, Fernando.
And Steve, can someone put a link to the conference in the chat?
Yeah, but right now, Mark, I believe, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now that page is only looking for sponsors right now. So there isn't a lot of detail yet about the conference itself. Last time I looked, that was the situation. But I do have it in Mark, and I will send it out with my announcement.
And I believe you had Sonia's email on the page I had looked. She's heading everything up, and I know would be more than happy to answer, via email to anyone as well for attendance or questions.
Well, like I said, hopefully next week that we will have someone come and really provide an in-depth overview of that conference. It's pretty phenomenal and is a great way to reach out not only to the tribes here in Arizona, but throughout the country. One of the comments that was shared with me was the fact that they are trying to reach out to some of the tribes who, of course, don't have broadband, don't have email, and so they can't even connect with some of the folks in other parts of the country. So there you go. Okay, ready to move on? So I think you already know, and I had sent this out, but ACA has posted 2 job descriptions, the broadband grants and compliance manager, and the link is, I've sent that out last time and I will again, and also the digital equity program manager. So both of those positions have been posted. And Sandeep had asked that I make sure we get it out to the task force. So, okay. If any of you are interested or you know someone who might be, please pass that information on. So let's see. So moving on, the next thing is those of you who attended last week know that we had a good meeting with Lyle Lashida, who is the chief of the Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division, Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau with the FCC. And among the things that he shared with us is that the FCC chairwoman, Jessica Rosenworcel, is going to visit Arizona. Originally, she was planning to come in February, and that has been postponed to a date. I don't know if there's been any update to that. So I don't know that there's a date yet for her to be here. The tentative plans are for her to do visits in Tucson and Phoenix, and having a press conference in the morning by each of the mayors, an ACP navigator training following those press releases, and then in the evening, possibly 4 to 7, a public ACP sign-up events. And so we had a meeting with several of our folks, and Lyle to begin to map out how we can help with that, and are reaching out to both Phoenix and Tucson to collaborate with them and helping to promote that. Several people on this call. Elena, do you want to add anything more? Mala, any of you who attended that meeting want to add anything more at this point?
I don't mind going first, but I think last time Erin was saying she'd like to go first, so I'll let her do an update, and I'll follow if she's missed anything.
Okay, that's just on this meeting with Lyle.
Just on this topic, just on
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, Mala,
okay,
you're so
Erin.
funny. Thank you, Mala. So we actually had a state library meeting about this today, and so this is fantastic timing. So we've been starting with the list of libraries from the public library survey that was brought up in last week's meeting. We are drafting a communication to go out to them to kind of give them a heads up that the FCC is willing and able to send them materials regarding ACP. And so we're starting with that. And then we have started brainstorming other ways for libraries to be engaged. And once the dates are set, we'll be able to move forward with some of those plans. We are looking at it, obviously from the library perspective. And so finding ways to engage the trusted location of the library within the communities that the FCC would like to reach out to specifically is our main goal.
Okay, thank you. And Mala, I don't know if you wanted to add that, but before we do that, Elena, do you have anything else that you want to say about what's happening with Phoenix at this point? Are you there? Apparently not. Mala, did you want to add something?
Just that we do have a database where we collect actually data about all of our libraries. We do once a year, we do public library statistics. So we're going to pull out the addresses from those with the names of the directors and send it to Lyle with the request for Spanish and English flyers. And of course, as Erin said, we'll have to prep them about the receipt of these so that they know. We're also hopefully trying to see if we can engage them in the train the trainers. So see how many of them are willing to do online training. We don't have the funds to get them to the location unless they can pay for their travel themselves, which means driving out and gas and mileage. So it's up to them if they can do that, but we'll try and make this as successful as possible by getting, as many people trained to be trainers to do the ACP sign up. And this last week, it's jumping the number of households signed up. We have 357,000 households that are now signed up, which is about 6,000 more than what we had at the last meeting last week. So something is happening, and a lot of people are getting signed up. Libraries are already doing a lot, but I think this will get them through the doubts, difficulties that they have, and it'll help them let FCC also know about what the grassroots level doubts are. What is it? What is happening? What is it that is a stumbling block, and those kind of things. So FCC would benefit from their participation as well. And the other thing I wanted to point out was that we are working on a tribal library that Chairman Jessica Rosenworcel can visit, working with our tribal librarian, and let's see whether we can make this visit also meaningful to her.
Yeah, she is planning to also do some kind of tribal visits, and we don't know what that looks like yet.
Right.
So we had a really good, I think, some really good conversation, and we are going to try to set up a meeting, regular meetings with Lyle to really map all this out. Unfortunately, I've been trying to reach Lyle. I know he's been busy But, you know, he's made it clear, as I think Mala indicated, that they're willing to provide materials. They will send digital navigators to help do the signups. They will provide the training and so forth. So it's a really great opportunity for us to get some real recognition. The other thing we talked about was seeing if we can figure out how to not do just one location, but multiple locations. Even Tucson and Phoenix, those are big cities. And so if somebody has to travel to one site, in many cases, that's not a feasible option. So anyway, well, you'll be hearing more about that. As soon as I can reach Lyle, I will set up another meeting and invite anybody who wishes to participate. So
And
Michelle,
looking
I'm sorry, go ahead, Joy.
Sorry, this is Joy Whiting. I was just listening to Mala talk about Chairwoman Rosenworcel's visit to Arizona and possibly to some tribal lands. I just information I would love to get Superintendent Nate. He is the superintendent at Chinle Unified School District. It's one of the largest school districts on the Navajo Nation. I've had several conversations with him about internet access to his school district and to the students that are in his school district. And it's just really tough. And he said he had a question answer period in a public forum during an Impact Aid conference with Chairwoman Rosenworcel about solutions for this. I would really love to get him connected. He knows a lot more about it with you, Mala, or anybody else who could navigate when she comes to Arizona to bring him there, or anybody else from the Navajo Nation that you see fit. I just know that Superintendent Nate is somebody who I work with directly because he's a school superintendent. He's boots on the ground. He understands the problem. He's very forward thinking. He was born and raised in Chinle, and he was voted the Superintendent of the Year by the State Superintendents Association. So he's very knowledgeable. He understands a lot. So if there's any way I could navigate getting him in touch with or being a part of this information, I think it would be really helpful for him and his school district.
So Joy,
Yes.
well, I don't know that we'll actually, although we discussed it and everything was very preliminary at this point about whether we could reach out to other communities outside of Tucson and Phoenix. She's going to have limited on the ground time. So don't know how that's going to evolve at this point in time. But having said that of course, everybody in this task force will get notifications about when she's going to be here, where she's going to be, and what's going to happen. And you are going to be more than welcome to invite anybody that you think should participate.
Okay. So if there's information that you send out, I can just send it to him and maybe he could come to Phoenix to see her. Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
So everything is preliminary at this point. We haven't finalized anything right now, other than we know she's coming to Arizona at some point and she's going to do those three things. And that's about the extent of the details we have at this point.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anybody else want to chime in?
Sorry, this is Mala. And I was thinking if we were going to do a statewide blitz, sign up blitz on that day, she's not going to be able to go and see it, but she would get a report back after, maybe the end of that week or something. We can show her how many people signed up. And that might be a good thing for superintendent to maybe make happen at his school. If we could get a couple of people there to be trained as trainers on that day and then sign people up later that afternoon, because schools, again, like libraries, are trusted places where people would come with their information, and schools have fax machines and other things that they might need or copy machines to copy and attach the information, the documents that they need. It's harder to do it at a church, easier to do it at schools and libraries that have the equipment.
So Mala or anybody else, is her visit primarily focused on the ACP, or are there other topics she's expected to address?
It's mainly ACP and probably E-rate and broadband for the tribal libraries, because I think that's been a focus of late, trying to get more tribal libraries and schools to participate.
So even though she may not be able to get to other places in the state, that Lyle will be here
Right.
He's going to be bringing people, they're going to be bringing trainers to do navigation training. So there's going to be lots of other opportunities, even though she personally may not be able to be in other places. So again, don't know all the answers to that at this point.
Great, thank
Oh,
you.
I just wanted to say I dropped my email in the chat again too. If folks are interested, I'd be happy to facilitate that conversation with our tribal library consultants. If there are specific people that we should, get in contact with.
Okay.
Aaron, I'm sorry I have not reached out to you sooner. I will look at the chat and get your email.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I know people are putting some suggestions of who should be invited. And we'll open that up once we kind of get a better handle on how we're going to proceed with all this. And again, I will be sending out a notice of our next planning meeting if you choose to participate. So Michelle, you put something in the chat. You want to talk about that quickly?
That meeting tomorrow afternoon is with FCC Community Outreach Division Manager Kayla Hernandez Ujoa. And tomorrow's meeting is for service providers and county, city, town administrator personnel. It's really to talk about the importance of ACP and do a Q&A session about barriers or successes related to ACP. What are the providers seeing? What are the administrators seeing? So that they're all kind of on the same page as we are attempting to advocate for these types of events in our communities. Our administrators are aware of what's happening. So this is a focus on Pima County. They reached out to the county administrator's office. So I coordinated this through Connect Pima. We did have a meeting last week that was really more for like helping organizations, and she did a train the trainer type of thing. And I did record that. So Steve, I'll send that recording to you so you can share it with the group.
Okay. So if you're interested in that meeting, please check the chat, because I probably will not get a notice out about that before that meeting tomorrow. So if you're interested, please check the chat and check that link. And by the way, I believe, Michelle, that Kayla works with the Lyle.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, anything more about that? Okay, moving on. Just a reminder that the FCC is Wireline Competition Bureau is seeking comments on permitting the use of E-rate program funds to support advanced or next generation firewalls and services. Mala, do you want to just do one more quickie about that?
About the cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shelby and Colson have put together a document that they have indicated what we'd really like in that cybersecurity eligible list. Mainly what we're looking at is for it to be a part of category 2 in the E-rate eligible services. And the reason is because category 2 is underutilized. It is based on the square footage for libraries and on the student count as far as schools are concerned. And although there is a finite amount per organization, it is not getting fully utilized for various reasons, which I won't go into details here. But by including it as a part of category 2, it will serve multiple purposes, and that's what they are focusing on. There's also they're also asking for an increase from 85 to 90% based on the discount rate. Right now, it's capped at 85% of the NSLP figures. That is the maximum that anyone can get. But if they cap it at 90, because there is funding. So we're not looking for extra funding from somewhere else. There is unused, underutilized funds available. and the minimum at that for C2 to make it to 3,600. So anyway, those are details that someone who's applying for E-rate would be more concerned about, but that is exactly what they are looking at. It's for advanced firewalls more than anything.
Okay, thanks, thanks, Mala. So let's do some other updates and then we'll come back to doing our digital, or might be you, get your elevator speech ready because I may be picking on you. If you
Steve,
don't.
can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Philip.
So about the E-rate and cybersecurity, are you saying the goal is to place cybersecurity as a whole under category 2 or only the advanced firewall?
No, the whole cybersecurity, whatever is required, except that if it is a part of the bundled internet service and leased equipment, then that's different. But if it is something that they are purchasing, then it would be purchased.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. So of course, Sandeep is not here today. Mala, do you have anything else that you want to talk about regarding libraries, E-rate? And then Aaron, you may have some things. I don't think Janet Majors.
Janet is here, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
here.
Yes, I did see
Here.
you, Janet. I apologize. So you guys might want to also do an update on what's happening with telehealth and libraries. And then Janet, we'll get to you because I know you've got some things coming up also. So Mala, you got anything else
I'll
that
do
you
a very
wanna-
quick update. Gigi Sohn's nomination as the 5th FCC commissioner is still pending, and we're hoping that will get resolved soon. Every time we think it's going to happen next week, it's not going to happen. It's been pushed further. So that is delaying several other approvals at the FCC that we have been waiting for, including the cybersecurity discussion.
Is that a congressional approval?
Yes, it does need a congressional approval.
Good luck
So
with that.
Yes, I hope they don't think the next 2 years are going to be lame duck session. I hope not.
Really?
So it is very, very political. I wish it had gotten approved earlier because we could move on with lots of things if Gigi was there. The mapping issue is another thing that we've been looking at seriously. I know we've had several discussions about this in the past. The map, the national broadband map is also on Broadband Now, and I don't know if anybody looks at Broadband Now seriously. They show such a stark difference between what FCC has, the figures they have, and the figures that Broadband Now has. FCC talks about people without broadband internet, according to them, is 6.5. According to Broadband Now, it is 13.1. Huge difference. It's almost double, more than double. That's about 22 million people, if it's translated into numbers, who are in excess of what FCC says, who do not have adequate internet access. And that is just 25 down and 3 up. That's the population that Broadband Now says do not have internet access, much more than what FCC has. So there's a lot to challenge, and I can put the challenge process link in the chat after I'm done talking. You can look at it. Although the challenge deadline passed on January 13th, there's bound to be another one coming up. It's estimated that that's going to be around June 30th, but we don't know yet. And hopefully
there was request by a number of states, including Arizona, to delay that deadline, but there was not much success in that. However, when Lyle was on last week, he said that even though the formal date had passed, that they're always looking at challenges. So don't if you feel like you still want to provide input, that you can do that.
Right. There is, I mean, there's always going to be another chance for them to look at it. Although they want to get, probably they want to get the BEAD money out first, you know, and their process is quite lengthy to get that through to BEAD. So I guess it may affect the BEAD funding, but we can't do anything about it.
So just to clarify, Mala, and you can chime in also, that the BEAD money will be allocated based on those maps, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. That's right. That's right. And how we utilize it once we receive it, we can base it on our maps for the unconnected or the underconnected. But the total money that we will get will be based on FCC map.
Okay, anything else, Mala?
Yeah, very quickly, I think I'll let Janet talk about our community health center, Desert Sanita Community Health Center's the health fair. Is that what, Janet, will you do that, or do you want me to give an update on that? Not hearing Janet, I'll go ahead and give the update.
Okay.
There were 160 community members showed up and participated in different activities. There were 31 different vendor tables and activities, including our talking book library, the mammogram van, the Lions eye testing. They tested 30 eyes, although they said they were so far inside that a lot of people missed them. But one of the things that they did that was very successful was to have a bingo chart. So the bingo squares had all of those 31 different vendors, and you had to go get a stamp from each vendor that you have visited their desk, their table, and then come back for a prize. So that drove a lot of people in to where they were for the eye testing. The Connect Arizona website also, with the ACP information and a slideshow on it, which Brandon had done, was on full display in the patio and in the porch to the entrance to the Desert Sanita Health Center. So that also had a lot of visibility and viewing. There were more than 50 flyers, ACP flyers, that were taken. Don't know how many of those will turn into enrollments. There were things, there were lessons learned that we are trying to put together in a report, and hopefully we'll have the report out. Janet is helping me with that, and hopefully we'll have the report out by the end of this week. And there will be things that we can learn for the next event that we're planning to have in the Navajo Nation area. For two tribes, the Navajo Nation, Navajos, and one down south in the Tohono O'odham tribes. We're still very much in infancy planning stage, nascent stage of doing that planning, but it's going to be in the summer. Back to you. I don't think I have anything else that I can add right now.
Okay. Aaron, we'll get to you, Janet, in just a minute. Aaron, do you have anything that you want to report on?
I just want to say thank you to Mala and Janet for having that information out there again. That was really wonderful, and actually has brought up a conversation within the Connect Arizona team to add a little bit more of a push on trying to figure out how people get to us, because as Mala said, how many of those are going to turn into ACP signups? We don't know, right? How many of those people who see the Connect Arizona information end up reaching out for ACP or for any other bit of help? And a lot of that comes from the fact that, you know, that group was stood up as an early pandemic response, and now has, you know, definitely has some time to reevaluate some of the information that we ask the clients when they call. So we're going to try to do better information gathering with the clients of Connect Arizona to find out how people find us. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them say, oh, I saw the flyer. So that's it for me right now. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? I don't think Holly's online. Holly, you're not here, are you?
Holly said she has another meeting and she might be late if she
Okay.
shows up.
So I don't know if she had anything else. So Janet, are you there?
Yes, thank you. And I've been plugging things into chat, so I won't take very long, but I wanted to add a couple of things to what Mala and Aaron said. You know, there are definitely some valuable lessons learned. We want to show up at any community health event that there is, if anybody hears of any, because we sure do want to keep the ball rolling with regards to all these great resources that there are in libraries and the work that we did with ACP. Chicanos por la Causa sent this really great guy who spent, you know, the whole day, a couple of hours of his time there talking to families and people about ACP. But it really made it evident that we, it's kind of like pre-production. It would be really helpful if people showed up at an event like that with all their ducks in a row, with the checklist. If we get a checklist out to people in advance so that when we have people available to help them sign up, they start at the beginning with already having everything they need before they connect to the internet to go through the process, because that's been very frustrating. Our super smart colleague here, Cindy Hogan, put together a draft of such a document, and Mala said that she spoke to Lyle about it, and that Brandon is also putting together or has put together something, because to have that in Spanish and English would be a game changer. We could have signed some people up. I think if we could have helped people get that organized when we had all the resources there to do the signups.
So Janet,
that
when we had that meeting with Lyle, that was one of the things, at least I raised, and I think people all concurred, is giving people the information in advance so they actually come prepared. And how do we do that? Because it's not just for that event, but for all of these events, as you indicated, is people coming prepared with the information, the documents they need to be able to get signed up.
Right. And that's why everywhere I go, I leave behind a trail of Spanish and English handouts from the FCC website that spell out what the program is. First, you have to hook them in. You know, you have to bait them with the hook. And then they go back and read it at home and go, yeah, I really want to do this. How do I do it? And then they're going to call our friends, the digital navigators. And then they're going to show up at the library and ask the librarians to help them. So I think we've come a long way, and there are things that we can do to make it more efficient. And that was a really valuable lesson learned. And it was an awesome community. And we look forward to going back. This is the first time they've had that community health day in 3 years, and they had the fire truck and the ambulances and the little train with the kids and everything. It was really amazing and a lot of fun. I shared a couple of links with a great article in today's Tucson paper that is talking about more technology in more places in Southern Arizona and ways in which the NTIA is investing money in Arizona, which is great news for everybody. Mauricio shared a really valuable document in chat for anyone who knows a lot about telehealth like Mauricio. And, you know, the public health emergency is really going to be over in May, according to recent announcements. So the bad news is that might change some billing for things like phone calls and services that we've been used to getting in a telehealth world during the pandemic. But a lot of that, I think, is still going to be ironed out. The really good news from the billing perspective from Access, we helped produce the annual legislative day for the Arizona Rural Health Conference on Tuesday last week. And the director of Access has said that, you know, they're also going to be working towards billing for the time for CHRs and community health reps. And these are people who are also our digital navigators. They have been historically, and they will be in the future, the people who will go to the chapters and go to the library and have their neighbor sign out that blood pressure cuff and work with them, or have them sign out that tablet to get connected to a breast cancer support group. These are truly the digital health navigators. And for that to be billable is going to be really impressive. And rightfully so. That's going to help the war on diabetes in our state. So be tuned for legislation and ideas that we can continue to support in the telehealth world, because that's how great things happen and change is made. And it's been just a pleasure to work with Mala on the telehealth and libraries. And I look forward to expanding that in both the North and the South, and anywhere we can take that program. There have been some wonderful grants, small grants written for up to a dozen, I think, rural Arizona libraries. Some of them focus on nutrition, some of them focus on job skills, and we're hoping that some of them will also focus on telehealth. And we'll be here to tell you all about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Janet. So Janet, are you going to be at the Bio 5 open house this week?
Yes, you were there last time, weren't you?
I was, and I will be there again.
Excellent. Yeah, I get to bring my grandson this time. Hopefully he won't cry when he sees Wilbur the Wildcat.
Yeah, actually, I think that's when I met your husband.
Yeah.
But can you just tell people quickly what Bio5 is?
Oh, off the top of my head. It's a really interesting area at the University of Arizona. It's a building that brings together medicine, agriculture, science, engineering, and who's the fifth one? You know, it's been a wonderful place. And from a design, my experience and area of expertise has been facility design, not only for telemedicine, but theater. And the idea was great, and the building is great. The idea was to put together multiple use areas, labs where all 5 of those people are working in the same space. Now, one thing that wasn't anticipated is, what about when you want to have that private conversation in that space? So balancing out the office space with the lab space and workspace has been what's going on. And it's in a great neighborhood. It's by the Health Sciences Innovation Department. So these are people who are doing amazing things, like finding the little corona spikes on the virus and things that, and it's all because it's interprofessional amongst those 5 disciplines. So it's kind of like STEM, STEAM in a science way, all incorporated into a building design. You know, the other thing I wanted to emphasize too, that I put in chat, I've been calling it grant leftovers. I love leftovers, so that's a term of endearment. But on Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, we're Learn, Design, Apply Inc., some really super smart professional grant writers and I are getting together to look at what's still left on the table. There's still a lot of money on the table. And there are folks who I hope wrote successful RUSDLT grants. There are other grants now that are still there to look at things to invest in technology and telecommunications connectivity. So it's a 3-hour program. The first hour, Wednesday morning at 9, will be tips on grant writing itself. If you really want to know some hot tips, and they know some hot ones. The second hour will be healthcare funding opportunities specifically. And then the third hour will be on tribal funding opportunities. And it's both in person at our downtown beautiful classroom on Van Buren, or you can also register, attend by Zoom. And we really do, yes, and thank you, Mala. The group that was awarded the great grant today was the University of Arizona, $3 million to invest in technology and devices and ways to get people connected in Southern Arizona. So, you know, great things are happening, and it's all been a crazy January, but come February, here we are. There's still plenty of grants out there. So if you're looking to do remote patient monitoring or something that requires managing devices for people, that's where we are right now. And it's a great idea, and we would love to partner with anybody who wants to work on a project.
So I'll have to go back and look, but I have been trying, when I send out the reminders of the meetings and the summary of the meetings, to list a lot of these events and activities that are going on. I go through the chat and the transcripts and find any of these kinds of announcements and try to include them. So if you're interested in what's happening with these things, please review the emails I send out, because you'll find the links, the times, and locations and all that kind of good stuff.
And save the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and put the document of distance learning telehealth events that I send out every month, because there are some really great things coming up, especially people who want to know about the end of the public health emergency and all that kind of stuff.
And so just FYI, if you save the chat, and of course I also send out the chat, but you cannot, after the meeting is over, the chat, all you're going to get is text and link. You will not be able to download the files that are included in chat. So if you want those files, review the chat and save the files to your computer. Okay, and then I will try to also to download those and make them available with the summary of the meeting. Okay. Anything else? If not, let's move on. Philip, I know you're online. You want to give us kind of an update? What's the latest with the Department of Ed?
I'm always online, Steve. So for us at ADE, we're still kind of working on our qualitative assessment to get into cybersecurity focus group to see the need in K-12 along Metro and Rural. Karina is still working with her colleagues on that. And once we get past these are the metrics we want to look at, we'll start producing questions and everything. Shelby's working with her interactive technology on particular schools on Minecraft for education and robotics and such. Kelly Cruci is hosting a technology town hall with K-12 in Safford next week. And then I actually just had my first focus group for cooperative purchasing program for K-12 today, and I'll have another one on February 22nd. So a lot of things getting prepped for and moving to begin the year. And that is our update for today.
Okay, and I don't believe Karina is online, so I don't know if she has anything else to add. And I don't, Mylan, you're not online either, are you?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on. Cindy, you have anything you want to share?
Sure. A group of us from the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network went to a couple of different things last week. We had a small meeting with the NTIA Digital Equity Director to talk just about Arizona and our experience here. That was a really, really good meeting, really in depth, really enjoyable. It was great conversation. And then the next day we went to the Smart Region Summit that was put on by combination of ASU and the Digital Equity Institute. They had a lot of national speakers, breakout groups, some really good speakers from here as well. Alex Tarvid, who comes to this group and is a member of ADEN, is also presented about digital navigating. Really energy-packed day, lots of information, and the governor was there to speak in the evening, along with this same NTIA Digital Equity Director. And yeah, a lot of great information came out of it for me. I'm still kind of processing it. So ADEN is working on getting letters out that kind of state who we are and how we want to help the digital equity plan be developed. So we're drafting letters to the governor and to the state broadband office just to say how we would like to be involved and what we can do to support their efforts and represent the digital inclusion practitioners of Arizona that are members of our group.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions for Cindy? Okay, moving on. I don't believe Aaron is here. And of course, no, Nicole's not here. Derek, I don't think you're online either. So I think we're done. Rory, are you here today? Don't think so. So we're done with the updates. So I'd like to take the next 10 or 15 minutes. First of all, are there any other announcements? Going once? Going twice. So actually I do have a couple of quick announcements. So I've included, and I'll send this out with my email, that the National Skills Coalition, in partnership with the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, has released Closing the Digital Skill Divide, a real-time snapshot of demand for digital skills in the US labor market. And so they have a report that's out, and you can download that report. And then on February 22nd, they will be having a webinar, Closing the Digital Skill Divide, the Payoff for Workers, Business, and the Economy. And excuse me, and I will have the link for that also. So if you're interested in any of that, I think that's pretty important. I know, Cindy, you've been talking about the issue about workforce development and the need for digital skills.
Great, thank you.
And then the last thing that I have, and I've mentioned this before, is that I had been contacted by a teacher at Harris Elementary School that they're doing a STEM showcase from 5 to 7 p.m. on Thursday, March the 30th. And they are looking for folks to come have tables, interact with students, share information and so forth. I got to tell you, I had a phenomenal conversation with that teacher. She is just really super. And so if any of you are interested in spending a couple of hours with students, it's a great opportunity for the students.
It's a STEAM lab. They're STEAMers.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I stand corrected. it is a STEAM lab. Okay. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. And now I'd like to just open it up. I'm looking, if you don't volunteer, I will volunteer you, particularly some of our newer folks. And I see Dan Stormont. Dan, you haven't been here in a long time. Glad to see you back. So are you there?
I am here. Yeah, I stop by every now and then. I see I need to change my background. But anyway, yeah, it's good to be here. Since you moved it to the afternoon, I can drop in every now and then. I have actually dropped in on a few others, but yeah, good to be with you here.
So Dan, as long as I've got you, you want to tell people quickly about who you are and what you do?
Sure, glad to do it. Dan Stormont. I am a program specialist with Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS program. Used to be the regional manager for Arizona. That's now Reggie Carrillo, who's up in the Phoenix area. So if you haven't connected with Reggie, please do reach out to him. But yeah, I'm mostly working on sort of the back end things, like, you know, all the tools we need to make things run smoothly through our rhythm of business. And of course, still curious to see what's going on, especially in the education space and in the broadband space, which is why I dropped in today.
Okay. Any questions for Dan? Going once, going twice. So Jan Schiller, Jan, I know you've kind of introduced yourself before, but you want to tell people you've been just awesome in helping us to, even though I've been very delinquent in working with you, but you're just awesome in helping us to do our strategic planning. You want to just tell people quickly who you are?
Yes, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Steve. My name is Jan Schiller. I am a partner in Berkshire Consulting, and we specialize in delighting our clients by transforming their strategies into results with project management. So happy to join you and be a part of the work you have coming up to kind of update your strategic plan.
Sounds great. And who else? Catalina, do you want to tell people who you are?
Hi, I'm Catalina. I'm from Triad Wireless.
Okay, and you want to just tell people quickly about Triad Wireless? Although we have people who participate from Triad frequently, but do you want to just tell people again about who Triad is?
Yes, we provide service in the areas that mostly like Cox and CenturyLink can't cover, like Forest Lakes. We started Buckeye. We also have Tonopah, Gila Bend, Morristown, Patagonia, Rainbow Valley, Surprise, Waddell, and Whitman. We provide the Triad Wireless does the internet for them, and different school areas that we're also putting on. We do the residential internet services. I am their business account manager here.
Okay, thank you, Catalina. Thanks for joining us. Anybody else want to share who you are, what you do? Michael, was that you? Did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I'm just grumbling at my computer because I'm having trouble getting you on the computer. I've got you fine on the cell phone, but I can't get through on my laptop.
Okay. So Mauricio, you want to give us a quickie update? You've been a great supporter, and we probably wouldn't be around if it hadn't been for you. So you want to tell us a little more about you again?
Well, it's not me, it's actually Care First. We are one of the access health plans here in Arizona, currently serving Northern Arizona, but our sister health plan covers the rest of the state. So we basically cover the whole state under different health plan names. Thank you for that. I am the community engagement manager. And as Janet mentioned earlier, I did put into the chat a toolkit that was created by Access. And I thought maybe we can borrow some ideas. I know that we have done a great job since COVID started as far as creating toolkits for what was the EBB, now the new program,
ACP.
connectivity, ACP.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a high emphasis in the next couple of months, because if you look at the toolkit, and the reason why the toolkit was created is that the public health emergency will be ending, and there is an actual date now. April 1st is the official date, and there's going to be a lot of effort into making sure that 600,000 Arizonans do not lose their access coverage. So there's going to be plenty of events out in the community. And I think it would be a good idea to maybe piggyback or to find out where those enrollment events are going to be. Maybe we can be there to promote the ACP when people are trying to renew their Medicaid. There's going to be a lot of events out in the community, out in schools, out in libraries and other locations. So it might be a good idea to start looking for those opportunities for us to be there with them when they have these events. And these community assisters are basically a statewide network of people that actually ask for exactly the same information that's needed for the ACP program. So the people that go there are already going to have most of the documents needed to not only renew their Medicaid, but also an opportunity to enroll into the ACP program. So that was the reason why I included that in the chat, so we can look at some of the strategies that they're using. They're looking at hashtags, they're looking at 30-second PSA announcements. They have examples of flyers and little postcards that could be downloaded. So maybe we can borrow some of those ideas for our own benefit moving forward.
Mauricio, do you know who is people or organizations that are leading that?
Yeah, as Janet mentioned, she's very well aware of the ones that work at the community health centers or the federally qualified health centers throughout the state. But there's also another list of application assisters that's probably included in one of the links in that toolkit that will be probably posting a calendar of events where they're going to have all these outreach events and enrollment events, so the community does not lose their benefits and they can update their contact information, because they haven't had to renew their Medicaid benefits for almost 2 years because of the public health emergency. But now the time has come where they're going to have to do their renewals and update their contact information. So that's why it's going to be a huge effort throughout Arizona to have these different events in all parts of the state.
So Mauricio, is that coming through your organizations?
No, that's coming from the state. It's coming from Access, which is the Medicaid administrator.
Okay.
We're just one of the contractors that are contracted with Access.
So Mauricio, could you find, or maybe who the person is, the lead that we should connect with, obviously along with you, to talk about how we can best sync up with them?
Yeah, I definitely can do that. I don't know if Janet's still on the call or not, but I know that she has really good contacts with the federal qualified health centers. And I can find out information about the other assistance navigator agencies or application assisters, and I can share that with the group.
Okay, Janet, I think you were just here a minute ago. There you are.
Here I am.
Anything
I
you
have
want to
mouse
add?
issues. But I'm here. No, that's great. And like I said, Mauricio is really quite the telehealth expert. He's living it on the boots on the ground level and helping people get connected to healthcare. And this really is going to be an important time to provide as much help as we can. And I'm also working with the Arizona Diabetes Coalition, because we want to be sure that as we look towards still keeping people connected to services and the idea of providing training for CHRs and CHWs, we do want to be sure that we're helping all of those organizations come together anytime, every chance that we can to work on all of those issues, because it is a very difficult time. And as he said, community health centers, they're all over it. And I know in the border health office out west, Amanda Geary and her folks, they do have in their intake list of things to do ACP, and right up there with SNAP and Lifeline and all the federal assistance programs. And it is a lot of the same application data that you need to get signed up. So, you know, we're all on the same team. And I think that the more we can share those types of events that are happening that we can support, you know, the more we can help.
So Aaron, I don't know if this, you know, falls into your bailiwick or not, because I know you're bored with nothing to do, but and I guess the same for you, Mala, in terms of the state libraries, is that it seems to me that here's, you know, another big network with a lot of outreach activities that are already planned that we need to figure out how do we incorporate ACP and collaborate with that, with those efforts that are already underway. I don't know,
Yeah,
Aaron or
we're
Mala, if you have any thoughts.
happy to support in any way we can, right, Mala?
Absolutely.
That's
We have really nothing to do, but
Yeah.
what can be better than helping Mauricio?
Eating bonbons and signing people up for ACP. But it's a
Yeah.
really good point when you think about it, the resources in the libraries. There's a beautiful library next door to the hospital in Yuma that you can invite 90 people, and it's like, you know, Zoom ready in the room. You know, to be able to invite people, I think, to the library to learn about, you know, many of these issues, I think that's going to be important.
Yes, I agree. And we can. Oh, sorry, Sharika, was I talking over you? I apologize.
So Mauricio, this
No,
this
you
is-
weren't, sorry.
this is a perfect way to collaborate because it's a big, this is a big issue. Not ACP per se, which is obviously a big issue, but all the other stuff you were just talking about, and now integrating ACP into that dialogue. So we definitely have to figure out how do we best coordinate and collaborate on that.
Yeah, and just so that everybody knows, because I know we have people on the call that they serve other states or other markets. This is a federal initiative. It's not just in Arizona.
Yeah.
So every state is going to have to come up with their own strategy to make sure that they try to keep people enrolled into their healthcare or use for other alternatives, because maybe they're not eligible anymore because of income reasons. So this is a national effort. And as it says in the toolkit, it could impact 600,000 Arizonans. So there's going to be a big effort in getting the word out and trying to keep people connected to their healthcare.
So Mauricio, one thing that comes to mind for me is that we need to connect you with Lyle Ishida. He's got resources. They can print flyers. They'll send people out. They'll bring computers. They'll sign up people. And so we definitely need to connect him with this. I would not that I like to speak for anybody, but I think Lyle would probably jump on this opportunity to tie in with what's happening.
Yeah, as soon as I get the state leads for that, I'll share them with the group. I do know one of them is with Vitalist Health Foundation.
Okay.
His name is Marcus Johnson, and he's pretty much involved as the leader for the statewide effort for those application assisters.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind reaching out to him, and then maybe the three of us could have an initial conversation and then figure out what's next.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Mauricio. Anybody else before we end for today? I know Lucy, you always like to share some things.
I just haven't had a chance to meet with Janet yet. I've been meeting with people kind of offline, and then Aaron, you know, I still need to kind of get with you, but I just wanted to remind this whole healthy digital navigation readiness components. You know, we're here ready to help. We've got kind of some curriculum that we've recently developed because we're seeing this need in Florida, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Arizona, with regards to filling that gap so that the libraries can really serve as a, you know, kind of a full service community health hub there. So Janet, would be awesome to maybe put your eyeballs on the type of training that we've got and see if it could be of any service to you guys.
One thing that's obviously clear and isn't any surprise to any of us is that there are lots of different networks out there, and we need to, I guess, step up our efforts to connect the networks. Well, we have a lot of different people on this call, but Mauricio, like the group that you just talked about, is really important for us to connect with. And of course, Janet, the libraries and all these different people. And so the best that we can sync people up particularly now with regard to ACP, is really a good thing for us to do. Okay, anybody else want to share, chime in, jump in before we end for today?
The other thing that, I'd like to add to what Mauricio's plug is up for people who do not have access. Right now, the schools have distributed thousands of hotspots to the children, hundreds of thousands of hotspots to the children. When summer rolls around, those hotspots are going to go back to school. And those people who had access, if they're not enrolled in a summer school program, they're not going to have internet access at home unless they sign up for ACP. Because thinking that we have a hotspot and that is sufficient is not going to work. It's not. If their children are not in school, the hotspots are not going home with them. And those that we lend out from the library, we don't lend out indefinitely. We lend it out for a short period to stimulate their interest, to use it for a particular event, purpose, whatever they need it for. They're applying for a job and they need access for a week, 10 days, till they finish their job application. They borrow a hotspot and they have it available. But they don't have it at home 24/7 to use after that event or the school children sign up is passed. So they do need ACP. And the more ways we can tell them about it, the better it is for them.
Mauricio, what's the time frame for people to have to get all that done?
Well, the official date when they have to start renewing and updating their information is April 1st of this year. So it's coming right up. And as soon as I hear back from all of the events that are going to be scheduled and the contact people, I'll let you guys know. But as you can see, the toolkit is pretty comprehensive to get people kind of get ready and start, getting the word out now as far as how to keep their benefits, how to update their contact information. I assume this whole process is going to probably take maybe a year. So it's not going to happen all in one day. They're going to go in waves. But the official date will be the start date because they have been extending this date for almost a year. Every 3 months, there's an extension. There's been plenty of extensions, but now we actually do have an official date. So it's going to happen.
Okay. Well, we definitely, Mauricio, need to talk with Marcus and definitely connect you guys with Lyle also. I think he would, again, not wanting to speak for him, but just from what I know of him, I think he would find this to be a great opportunity. And
I think it's a great opportunity to leverage resources so you can have a bigger impact.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, anybody, anything else for today? If not, I think we are done for today. Thank you all for being here today. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye.